Well, people, it's that time of the month again. My favorite time of the month, Record of Ragnarok time. So, after our normal 30-day wait, Chapter 33 has finally arrived. Um, so, as predicted, this is partially a backstory chapter. We do get into backstory. However, we broke the pattern this time around. And it's not Shiva's backstory, it's Raiden's backstory. So, we start off with this page saying that one day, in the month of January 1767, in the province of Shinao, something unhuman was born. And we get the chapter title, 100 Seals. So you had a farmer named Hanuman and his wife Ken, who very concerningly has that dead anime mom, Erica, realized that their son, Taro Kichi, was 2 years and 8 months old, but had never stood up, which is actually like kind of concerning. No, not actually kind of concerning. That's like super concerning. It's like when your kid is like 3 and hasn't spoken a word yet. So they try and get Tarakichi to like stand up. They're like, his mom's asking him to grow up big and strong. Bet she's gonna regret those words in a week. So they see that. Oh my god, I keep forgetting his name because we just call him Raiden. I'm just gonna call him Raiden. They see that Raiden is getting up and walking around, but then out of nowhere, we see that his muscles get like super fucking strained, and it looks like his whole body is convulsing, and he's fucking clenching his jaw so tightly that some of his teeth fall out. And they realize that his bones are all broken. And it wasn't because his bones were weak, but because his muscles were so strong that it was destroying his body. So, in spite of the fact that his own body is so strong that it could kill him, he kept moving forward and chose to not give up on himself. So, he eventually found a way to control his muscles. They talk about how his body was like a prison to him because it just wouldn't stop creating new muscle fibers. I think this is an actual. This is similar to an actual condition. I don't know the name of what, like where someone's body or their muscles don't stop growing. By the way, that wasn't your Discord going off. That was mine. So, what kept his muscles from overgrowing was called 100 seals. Then we go back to the present, where Raiden is in that pose that he was doing last time, where I thought he was going to start doing palm strikes or whatever. And he says, "You want to see me go all out?" And so he smacks his chest, which seems to surprise everyone in the audience. Then we get sort of like an x-ray of his muscles. And then he's twisting his chest. And his whole, like his body stiffens out. And we see these lines dividing up the muscle groups on his body. And Shiva is really taken off guard by this, as we see that Raiden's body is horrifically expanding and contorting because of the uncontrollable growth of his muscles. It's much like Zeus, but a lot more grotesque. So everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? Gare is concerned that Raiden's getting crushed, and Shiva is like, I was kind of worried that Shiva would be scared or something, but he's just like, oh god, don't break on me, okay? And then it seems like Raiden himself calls out to Thrud, and we see her like over him, whatever, as his body starts glowing, and we see that this like energy starts wrapping around his limbs and his body, and he starts glowing. And when Gare questions what's going on, Brynhild's like, oh, I see. So Raiden is no longer being held back by his muscles. He's gained complete control over them. This is the strongest fighter in history's true power, extra muscular bone tightening. Ever since he was a child, Raiden had to live with a condition that forced his muscles to continuously grow. By using 100 seals to keep his muscles from becoming too strong, he barely managed to keep his body together. Garrett comes to the realization that that means Raiden went his entire life without being at his full power and still managed to become the strongest Rikishi ever. And Brunhild confirms that now that he is able to control his muscles thanks to Thrud, he is free of his shackles. The man with the strongest muscles is now about to prove his true worth for the very first time. He can now fight with everything he has. So Raiden takes a big breath and says, I've finally come to terms with my body. The seals have been broken. And we see slim, normal proportions Raiden. 100 seals broken. Man, we can't have weird, fucked up proportionate humans in this series, can we? No, I kid, of course. Though, I wonder what it would have been like if we actually did get fat Raiden. Whatever. I mean, we got Zeus. So, essentially, Raiden kind of did what Zeus did with Adamas, where he got his muscles all big and huge, and then he condensed them. But in this way, it's not so much condensing, because with that, Zeus was crushing his body in a way that was not natural or healthy for him. Whereas in this case, Raiden is actually putting himself in a normal state, in which he is, like, not at risk of destroying himself. So, Raiden remarks, hey, turns out I didn't break, huh? And Shiva's looking all pissed and saying, we'll see about that. Then we get to the other half of this chapter, which is what we saw a little bit of last month with Buddha and Loki talking. So, the translation that I had originally read had made it sound like Loki was getting cold feet and didn't want to get involved in the tournament anymore. But there was another translation in which Buddha asked Loki if he wanted to fight, which didn't seem as plausible to me, because it seemed much more like Loki being the sort of like cocky jokester that he was actually legitimately worried about his own safety. But it seems like this is going in a different direction than I had thought it would. But this could still prove to be very interesting, as we'll get into. So Loki and Buddha are having a stare-off, and then Loki tries to, like, break the tension and says, I think we got off on the wrong foot. But says that there's something he's been meaning to ask him. So when the tournament started, it was the first time that he'd ever seen a Valkyrie turn into Voland. And that he shouldn't have gotten himself so hyped up for it, because he ended up getting super disappointed. And I actually had a strange feeling about the whole thing since the very beginning. So we get a flashback of previous 4 rounds, which is very cool to see from new perspectives and with the development of the art style since then. So with the first page, we have Loki saying, those humans took the power of the gods and used it to corner us. And we see Lubu and Thor having their clash early on in the fight. And then we see Adam punching Zeus in the face. Always great to see Adam again. And then on the second page, and thus they killed 2 gods. So we see Kojiro finishing off Poseidon from a slightly different angle, which is always great to see that smug fuck get cut into 4 pieces. And then we see the end of the last round from directly behind Jack with the spotlight coming down on him. So Loki asks Buddha if he's the reason that the Valkyries have this ability, and Buddha doesn't answer. So Loki continues and says that no matter how you think about it, a god can't forgive a half-god, half-human cheater. This is a good reminder for all of those of you that don't know, is that at least this version of Buddha is the version of Buddha that was a human that attained enlightenment and basically ascended to godhood through achieving nirvana or whatever. And says, so he doesn't say anything, but Loki says, hey, I just remembered, the only thing that make Volans possible is your method. And asks Buddha about such a thing in the world of Buddhism. I'm like going over this while trying not to read out the whole chapter, But he says basically, he asks him if there was something like Voland in the world of Buddhism. Basically, if two people forfeit each other's lives and put them on the same lotus, it brings out the full potential of one's being. And they call it common destiny. I'm not very knowledgeable about Buddhism, and by that I mean I don't know anything about Buddhism. But they've got like this big tapestry in the background that they're showing off, which is pretty interesting. If you have like actual extensive knowledge about Buddhism, please share it in the comments below, because I'm legitimately interested in this stuff. And I'm sure other people that don't know much about it would be interested in knowing. And Loki remarks that essentially Volans are the same thing as common destiny. That's what made it possible for the humans to challenge the gods. And that the only logical explanation for the existence of the Volans is that basically Buddha was responsible for creating them. So Loki asks him what he thought about his little rant, and then Buddha says, everything that you said was convoluted. Your speech was so long that I didn't pay attention to even half of it. Just be straightforward and ask your question. So I'm really liking Buddha's personality. He seems real fun. He's a fun guy. And if he's actually on humanity's side, that actually gets him extra points. Loki's actually seemingly kind of surprised by Buddha's demeanor in the situation and says, oh, I'm sorry. We get like a little bit of cheering in the background, and Loki remarks on how it seems like things are kind of turning up in there and he wants to get back to the action. So he's just gonna water this down for him. So he gets like right up into Buddha's face and gives this really creepy forced smile and asks him, are you a traitor? And it seems like Buddha's giving like an actual amused smile. And he says, what if I am? Loki says, I'll kill you. And then we get a panel of the two of them staring off with all of their fiery god aura coming off of them, like we got with Loki and Zeus last chapter. Then we see this, I don't know if this is this is some kind of bird, I think. Yeah. And it has bells on it that start ringing. And then this song is being sung. Now, fortunately, Pariogo, the guy that did the translation for this, he did a little translation note saying this is a song called The Treasure Ship and the Seven Gods of Happiness, and it is sung the day after the New Year begins in Japan. And with that, we are introduced to the seven gods of fortune. We have Daikuten, Jurojin, I've never read these names out loud before, so forgive me. Fukurokuju, Hotesun, Ebisu, and Benzaiten. And then, of course, the final of the seven gods of fortune, Bisha Mountain. Well, shit. We've gotten fighter reveals 3 months in a row now. This is unbelievable. Also, Bisha Mountain looks fucking metal. God damn, he looks so fucking cool. I found like a chart thing. Bisha Mountain is definitely the most obscure of all the gods on this list, like on the roster. So let's see. He is a lucky god who repels evil and attracts good luck and treasure, one of the 4 heavenly kings. He is a strong, protective god. He is depicted wearing armor and holding a miniature pagoda in one hand and a spear in the other. And I also have information on, like, all of the other gods, but I don't think that's too important because they're not fucking fighters on the roster like Bisha Mountain is. So, I think I'll just go over him. But yeah, his design looks fucking amazing. I think the author must have known that Bisha Mountain had, like, the least hype around him out of all the gods because he was just... He's the one that there's basically the least information on. So I guess they decided, hey, time to show off this sick motherfucker. He's amazing. He's got like this sick fucking face mask thing. It's kind of like an eagle, and he's got that wheel thing behind him. That like, shit. There's like some Japanese gods have that like wheel thing behind it that has like drums with kanji on them. Except with this, he's got like fire emblems. But yes, this gang of 7 deities is the heavenly executioners, the 7 lucky gods. It's funny, Loki calls them weirdos, and they've all got some pretty wacky designs. You've got like this big... You've got like a child wearing a big, like, troll costume. And then a guy that looks like the aliens from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And you have Ebisu, who looks like a fucking Yakuza member. He walks around, he puts his fucking hands in his pockets, and bends over to talk to people like a Yakuza member. He even talks like when he walks up to Buddha and he says, "Yo, it's been a while, hasn't it, Buddha? Why are you standing there? Don't you want to be in heaven and celebrate?" So then Buddha bites down on his lollipop. He breaks the lollipop and grabs the stick. He says, "No can do. You can't eat candy in heaven, and without something to bite on, it would just be lame." So it seems like Buddha's actually a pretty earthly guy, which I'm digging a lot. I was already really liking Buddha's design when we saw it last chapter, but now that we've gotten a little bit more of his personality, I'm really liking Buddha a lot. So Ebisu gets pissed off, and then Buddha spits the lollipop stick and stabs Ebisu in the hand. And in response, Ebisu pulls out a fucking fish gun, and the rest of the Fortune Gang, I'm just going to call them that now, the Fortune Gang, get ready to, like, fight Buddha. Loki intervenes and says that, guys, calm down. Buddha's mine to deal with, so don't get in my way or you'll regret it. And he does, like, a creepy face, which freaks out a couple of the gods. Mohawk and the only chick, which is Hote-san and Benzaiten. I will never remember these people's names, by the way. Just remember that. Except for Ebisu, because his name's simple, and he has a fish gun. And of course Bishamoten, because, like, we've been seeing his name since the fucking roster was announced. So, anyway, Buddha's basically like, alright, I don't really give a shit. I'll fight all of you guys at once. And he puts his hands out and he's got like this big aura and air pressure coming off of him that's like blowing back everyone's hair and stuff. So he's real, he's the real deal. Buddha is serious business. And then we see a sandal. A man enters the room. And he remarks, "Since when was heaven this noisy? All these guys banging up on holy shit. All these guys ganging up on one person. Be it the gods or mankind, it seems like neither side has changed. I wonder if the god of the seas was like this." Loki asks him what he's doing there and calls him a jerk because he already had his fight. And the man responds and says, "Thank you, but I don't like being inactive." So everyone freaks out, and one of them says, "Oh shit, he's the one who killed Poseidon. It's Sasaki Kojiro! Yeah!" Oh man. Oh, it's so great that he's back. I thought he would be back as a commentator or something, but for him to be back in this fashion, holy shit. This is so hype. Yeah, he's back. He looks a bit younger than before. I think it's just because they didn't draw his face as detailed. He doesn't have as many wrinkles. But, man, oh man, is it amazing to see Kojiro again. So the gods are like, well, or mostly Ebisu, like, "Do you even know who you're dealing with?" And then Akita shows up. Akita shows up with Kondo and says he didn't realize there was another swordsman around here. And it's funny, Ebisu's like, how fucking many of you guys are around here? I've seen snippets of Akita from Requiem of the Shogun, and he's got like a bipolar personality, where one minute he's this cutesy Shota hentai protagonist, He's got, like, blushy cheeks and stuff, and he's smiling with his mouth wide open. He's remarking on how there are so many gods there. Oh, by the way, Kendo has, like, this giant meat cleaver thing. I have never read Requiem of the Shogun, because, like, as of now, only 4 chapters are translated. If they do more, I'm going to read through it, and I'll probably start doing a review series if it gets, like, if they're consistently translating it. That's why I haven't done anything for Lubu yet, because they've started translating that, but they've only done the first chapter, and I don't know if they're going to be doing the rest. But Okita says that he can't wait to play with everyone, and then we see his true personality come out, and he's getting into his, like, fighting stance and saying, please let me have some fun too. And we see that his fighting style is called Tenin Rishin Ryu. I've never heard of that before. But yeah, so Buddha has the Japanese swordsman on his side, and on Loki's side he has the 7 gods of fortune. So Loki asks, so it's war you want? And Okita, Buddha, and Kojiro respond in unison, you bet. So, this chapter was hype as fuck. This was such a great chapter. I was reading through this, and I couldn't handle it. There's too much shit. There's so much happening in this chapter. So, to go over things in sort of order, as like a recap, we've got Raiden's backstory. We get the shtick of how his powers work. I originally thought that just, like, his muscle composition was different. I never considered the possibility that his, like, muscles are so strong that they're literally destroying his fucking body. So it's interesting. It also makes a lot of sense as to why Raiden seemingly did not want to fight in the same way that all the other people did, where you had, like, Lubu, who just wanted to fight strong people, and Adam, who wanted to protect his kids. You had Kojiro, who wanted to improve himself as a swordsman. And Jack, who is Jack, of course. Raiden is, like, fighting and using his muscles like this is not good for him. It's not good for his health to be, like, exerting himself like this, because it's possible that he could just destroy his body because of his muscles. So it would make sense as to why he's not, like, all excited about fighting like the way Shiva is. For him, it's just, like, it's business. It's something that's got to be done. So it's going to be interesting seeing what Shiva does, or not Shiva, what Raiden is doing at full power. It's also of note that this is the first human to have, like, a physical transformation like the gods have had. So we'll possibly be seeing that with other people. It should be of note that they refer to him as humanity's strongest fighter. That's different from Lubu, because there's a difference between, like, a fighter and a warrior. They described Raiden in earlier chapters as a wrestler, so it's different. It's not the same thing. Don't worry about it. So next chapter, like, I'm just gonna get into this right now because we didn't really see Shiva do anything. We didn't get, like, any main fighting this chapter. Which I'm, for once, not really that bummed out about, because we got this fucking awesome side plot that's developing, which I never expected. We may get Shiva's backstory next month, or we may see Raiden doing fighting first. If we're gonna do this the way that we did with round 4, is we've got Raiden going into his, like, I guess this may be Raiden's final form or something. It's like his true form. We're gonna see him smack Shiva around a little bit more, and then Shiva's gonna be like, alright, time to get serious. And then, oh, right, next month is supposed to be a double month. So I suspect we'll get, like, 1 chapter of fighting and then 1 chapter of Shiva's backstory. Because I don't know if it's going to be short like this, because Raiden has, like, the shortest backstory out of at least all the human fighters. We'll probably get, like, more of his backstory, like, specific stuff involving his sumo career, like why he never became Yokozuna and stuff like that. maybe Raiden actually didn't want to become Yokozuna or something. Who knows? But maybe we'll get like more Raiden backstory next month, along with fighting, or we'll get fighting and Shiva backstory, or just all Shiva backstory. And like at this rate, now that they've broken the pattern, like literally fucking anything could happen. We have like an actual god gang fight going on the sidelines, which I never expected. So who the fuck knows what's gonna happen at this rate? But yeah, after that, it seems like Buddha is on humanity's side, which is good, because that means it's not going to offend the Buddhists or anything. No, but there were a lot of people that pointed out before Buddha was revealed that it's kind of weird, like with the way Buddha is supposed to work, that he would be on the side of destroying humanity. So what exactly is Buddha's deal here? If I had to guess, it seems like all of the gods voted to destroy humanity. Of course, Buddha is seemingly also a half-god, half-human like Heracles was. So Loki already has biases against him. But it seems like a lot of these demigod people, if you would even consider Buddha a demigod, are like, yeah, no, I'm like still kind of chill with humanity or whatever. It's possible Buddha wanted the tournament to happen for the expressed intent of ensuring humanity's survival or actually overthrowing the gods. Because it seems like Buddha doesn't really give a shit about, like, the gods as a... He doesn't care about them as an institution or whatever. Whatever you want to call them. He doesn't care about their whole deal. Doesn't seem to really give a shit about being in heaven or whatever. He's just doing his thing, basically. Which I vibe with. It's going to be very interesting to see if that gets fleshed out. And it seems like, with the way that Buddha's kind of dodging the question, and is just like, yeah, man, whatever, I don't give a shit. Either he actually doesn't care and isn't the traitor, he's just wanting to see what'll happen, or he is on humanity's side and just literally doesn't give a shit about what the gods think about it, and he's just like, yeah, man, whatever, I'll fucking fight all you guys. Yeah, like, the fact that Buddha would just be super willing to throw down with 7 other gods, including one of them who's a combatant on the list, I assume is one of the 4 heavenly kings, whatever that is. Please tell me if you know. Bishamonten's, like, kind of a big deal. Like, when you're among a group referred to as the heavenly kings, I assume you're kind of a hotshot. Maybe that's just me. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. So, like, now we're going to be having the main fight going on in the arena. But on the side, we're also going to be having side characters and, like, actual combatants fighting. Of course, once again, it's wonderful to see Kojiro again. I've just been waiting for him to come back because he is my favorite character. And I'm actually glad to see that he's not, like, just sitting around on the sidelines. I don't think he's gonna die or anything, because that would be pretty lame if a character underwent something as beautiful as Kojiro's victory in round 3 and just gets killed in some fucking gang fight happening after his round. That'd be the worst shit ever. So I think Kojiro's gonna be fine. If there's anyone in danger here, it's probably Kendo. Because, like, I don't know any of his feats, but he is not a fighter on the roster, so he may be kind of fucked. But who knows? This also means we're going to possibly see Okita versus Loki early. I am of the belief... I know there are a lot of people that have their predictions about what the matchups are going to be, and I was under the belief that when it was Okita's turn, he would fight Loki. If you've read Demon Slayer, if you've read through the manga, think Moichiro versus Upper Moon 5. If you know how that fight goes, towards, like, the 3rd act, that's what I think the dynamic would be for the two of them, considering Okita and Loki's personalities. But I doubt this fight is going to have, like, a conclusive ending. If anything, I bet Zeus is going to break it up, because Zeus is just walking around somewhere. He left at the same time Loki did when the fight started. So, I doubt this is going to have any sort of conclusive thing. I hope we don't get, like, cock-blocked and don't actually see any of them fight, but that's a possibility, because it would be kind of... I don't know if it would be weird. Like, I wouldn't super mind it, but it could possibly be used to milk the fight longer than it needs to be, in which you've only got, like, half of the chapter being dedicated to round 5, and then the other half being dedicated to this gang fight happening. It's possible that Zeus will step in before, like, anything really starts, but who knows? But yeah, I mean, shit, we get to see Kojiro again, we get to see Akira fight early, and we get to see, I guess, Buddha and Bishamonten fight early, though Bishamonten's just been standing around with his arms crossed since he showed up, so he just may not even do anything. Who knows? Well, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I do reviews of Record of Ragnarok every month, and I do some extra videos in between whenever I think of a topic to do. So, if you're a fan of Record of Ragnarok, check out this channel. If you're also a fan of other series such as Kengan Omega, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Bleach, I do videos on those series as well, so check me out if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching, and I will see you around.